Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for the first 805 conversation. Yeah, this is really exciting. Steve, thanks for joining us. The 805 conversations is a part of the 805 Connect project, and our idea is we really want to connect you to interesting people. We know that about half of you said the reason you're in 805 Connect is to meet interesting people. So today we've clearly got an interesting person for you. Just a quick little before we get going, if you've got tech issues in the window on your screen, the GoToWebinar window, you can type them in. Kimberly is here. She'll be helping you with that. If you have questions, she'll be logging those as well. We are recording, and so we'll be posting this. We want to thank our partner, Cielo24, who's going to be doing the transcription of this for later. All the questions go over in the side panel, and then we will please tweet using the hashtag 805live. So we'll be watching that as well. And then you could start following 805 Connect for news that we've got that maybe comes outside of the newsletter. So I do want to thank our partners. This entire project, those of you who are on are all members, and hopefully you understand that this is a public-private partnership that we've done with the goodwill, generosity, financial support, moral support, Sherpas all around us to help this project get going as we go into our second year. And this is our first experiment with 805 conversations. So what we learned over the last 6 months was that one of the number one things that you want from the network is community contacts. You need help in community contacts. And so we've thought about that a lot. You know, we love networking. We understand the value of relationships. We're huge students of that. So we thought our first conversation would be with someone who told me a story a long time ago about how he came into this community to make interesting connections. So I thought we'd start with Steve. Steve, why don't you introduce yourself to the people that don't know you? We've got them from all over the 805, so why don't you do that?
Tremendous, Mark. Well, thanks for inviting me. You and I have been friends for a long time, and I've had a long career. I started out as a professional baseball player, and then I ran all of the athletic programs for the city of San Diego. That was a fun job. I ran the athletic foundation at San Diego State, and I worked at a museum, the Southwest Museum in Los Angeles, and then 27 years ago came back to Santa Barbara. I had gone to college at UCSB, and I ran both the Chamber of Commerce and the Downtown Business Association for 25 years. So I retired a couple of years ago, and now I do things that make me happy. So I help people find money for projects that they are in love with. I'm looking for a few $1,000,000 for a fellow who wants to make a movie from a book he wrote, and looking for money to publish a couple of books that authors have would like to get produced. So, and then I make art. So that's me, and I'm happy to talk to everyone.
Excellent. Well, I know I love the art part of you, and when I learned that you were a sculptor, and when I would go into the chamber and see all of the pieces that you've done, I mean, you installation art, and you really are thoughtful about that, and it's you know me, my art is my food, so I think it's really good to have a good balance. I would think possibly that inside of 805 Connect, you might be able to find some contacts to help with those other projects that you're working on. So if you need some help, let me know, and I'll see if we can do that. So let's get started. I want to respect everybody's time, and I know that one of the things that would make this really valuable is if there are some takeaway life lessons, things that people can use, starting this afternoon. So let's start with our first question. We know networks are important. We hear that, but why do you want to consciously build a network?
Well, Mark, the story that you referred to is a story that I told once about how I approached Santa Barbara. I hadn't been in Santa Barbara for 20 years, when I came back to run the Chamber of Commerce, and I realized that I needed to build as large a network of people as I could in as short a period of time as I could. And the reason for that is chambers of commerce are by nature networking organizations,
Right.
and
Right.
they're trusted organizations. So the job of a chamber of commerce is to put people together, people who,
Mm.
just as you're doing with your project here, that's the job of chambers of commerce. So I sat down and took a close look at Santa Barbara, the region, and I quickly realized that, and I think this is very common in desirable places to live, the region was centered around the nonprofit community.
Mm.
I think the reason for that is when you have a desirable place to live, people want to protect that place, and they want it to be as good a place to live as is possible. And they're usually successful people, and they understand how to get things done. So they organize and they
Right.
attack problems in their community, and they tend to use nonprofit corporations to do that. So I said, great, here's a tool, and I would suggest that 25 years, 30 years later, it's still a good tool for people to use. So what I did is I took a look at all roughly 1,000 nonprofit organizations, and I divided them into categories based on what their goals were.
Mm.
So I segregated them into probably 10 categories by function. And then within those categories, I looked at the boards of directors of
Oh.
each of the organizations, and I looked at their success at achieving their objectives. And then I ranked them within those 10 categories. And my primary criteria was, could I meet people who would be good for my business? My business at that time being the Chamber of Commerce and Business Association. So I wanted to meet people influential in the business community.
So your strategy then was identify where those people were and then go join those organizations so you could meet them.
That's correct. So I ranked the organizations based on the contacts I would be able to make and the success of the organization. And then I sat down and I said, all right, I'm going to devote the first 5 years that I'm in Santa Barbara. My number one priority is going to be building these networks. And it takes a lot of time, and not everybody will have the time to do this. So I said, okay, I'm going to select the organizations. I'm going to work from the number one ranked organization in each category. There would be 10 organizations. I'll join 10 organizations, and I'll try to make myself valuable and become a member of their board. And I'll serve for 2 to 3 years within that organization. And that's a lot of time, right? So if an organization...
That's a great segue, though, Josh, just to say, what's the priority then? If you've got this network and you've got, I mean, you were the head of the chamber, so your job was to go build a network. Now we've got small business people, and people are trying to grow their business. How do you put the priority of this efforts higher in the stack, because it is so important? How did you figure that out?
Well, for me again, it was a classic marketing effort, right? I was trying to meet and establish relationships with people who would be my customers, would become members of the Chamber of Commerce, and then could be cultivated to be more than just members, be board members, be donors, be sponsors. But you know that you can't do those things without a personal relationship.
Right.
I mean, so for me, that was a very high priority and worthy of donating probably over 5 years, 30% of my time.
30%.
Yeah. But that was just for five. I made that commitment for 5 years, and I knew that after that 5 year period, I would have served on. I think it was 60 boards
No
at that
kidding.
point, right? And each board had about 20 people. So I really worked hard at getting to know both the organization, its goals, and getting to know the people on the board and the staff in the organization. That proved to be invaluable over the next 20 years.
Wow. Wow. So the priority, people, you said 30%. That's a lot of time. Someone told me, Larry Burrells, when he did Wavefront, said 30% of your time should be spent reading and staying on top of technology. So if I've got staying on top of the job and 30% on networking, that's not a lot of time left. So, but it is a high number because it is so valuable. Now, let me ask you a different question. Well, what do you do first? It sounded like you had a strategy. So that was the first thing, right? But what is, the people that are listening today, what do they do first?
Well, I think that if you don't know the community, then you have to sit down and have a conversation with someone who does know the community. Someone like you or someone
Right,
like me,
right.
right? The gray hairs who have been around and are not only understand how the community or the region works, but know who the players are. And so you need to have that conversation so that you have a background, and then you need to do some research.
So, okay. Now I'm thinking that we've got 90 startups in the region, just in Ventura County. And they don't, how are they going to get access to us? This is where we think 805 Connect helps, because you could actually go in the same way I used it to figure out who the people that needed help in community contacts. There's like 200 people that said they could help with community contacts. So I don't have to guess who to talk to. I could go in and search.
Yeah, Mark, I completely agree with you. I think that you're always a little bit ahead of the curve, and it takes a while for people to figure it out and catch up with you. But I think this service, the 805 Connect, is exactly what people can use. Now, certainly, if you're a startup, you're going to put a lot of hours in every week. And when I said I devoted 30% of my time for 5 years to building very wide, strong network, well, that was the nature of my job. If I was doing a different type of job but still wanted to be involved in the community, I think that again you should have some understanding of, if you're going to use this to do business development, well, who is it that you need to meet? And the beauty of the region is almost everyone will return your call.
Yeah, that's kind of, do you think that's specific to Santa Barbara, or is it the way that you reach out to people? And I've got an echo in here. I apologize to everyone. We're trying to figure that out on our back end, so please bear with us on that. But
You feel
why is it the region?
you feel like the Wizard of Oz
Yeah.
when I hear that echo. It's the wizard talking from behind the screen. Why is it in this region? I think because people choose to be here. I would have people come to my office. Often they were from Chicago or New York or Los Angeles, and they would say, I hate Santa Barbara. I can't stand it here." I said, "Why? What's wrong?" They said, "Well, you know, at 8 o'clock nobody's in their offices, and at 5 o'clock everybody leaves." I said, "Well, yeah." And I said, "Well, do you feel like you're running as fast as you can and everybody in Santa Barbara is just plodding along slowly?" And they said, "Yeah, that's it." I said, "Well, then you better start plodding along slowly, because that's why everyone moved here." This is a quality of life. You
Yeah.
don't choose to come to Santa Barbara. I don't believe. I don't believe you choose to come to Santa Barbara because there are more billionaires here than per capita than any other place in the world. I think you choose to come here because of the lifestyle, the pace, and the fact that you actually can start a business. There are a lot of very smart people here. There's a lot of wealth here, but it's a slower pace of life. And I think people appreciate if you've made that choice that they'll talk to you and they'll help you.
So let's move to our next question, which is, what do you not do? Because a lot of the we're natural networkers. Not everybody is, and what the people that are trying to hone these skills, what do they need to do? What should they not do?
Well, I think, Mark, the worst mistake a person could make if they're going to try to develop networks through um, nonprofit organizations. That's a kind of a different little thing. What you shouldn't do is become involved, join an organization, and then expect the organization will do the networking for you. That's a kind of a classic mistake. Well, I joined, I paid my $200, and I went to the first meeting, and nothing happened, right? So you have to, I think, approach this networking thing in a very active fashion. You shouldn't expect to go to it. Well, I would always say to people, look, if you're going to join whatever it is, the YMCA, then absolutely go to the board of directors meeting of the YMCA. Introduce yourself to the president and the executive director. Make sure they know who you are. Make sure that they understand you want to help. You aren't just there to listen. And what I always found is, if you want to be involved in an organization, the one thing no one wants to do, Mark, is help raise money. No one. So I would always walk in and say, listen,
I'll help you raise money.
I'll help you raise money.
You were
That's
their
what I
new
want.
best friend.
You were immediately accepted as a good person. So don't just be passive. If you're going to use this as a tool and put your time into it, make sure you meet and actively attempt to meet the people who are going to be your customers, or are going to be able to help you in your business.
So it's not you had selected nonprofit organizations, but there are a ton of networking organizations. There's like young professionals. There's of course the Uber organizations like Vistage and YPO and WPO. There's startups. There's meetups. There's those kind of things. But I think my takeaway there was, introduce yourself to the leadership, and instead of saying what can I get from this organization, what can I give to this organization, and that way you'll be seen in a better light. What else? I mean, I'm thinking that what I should not do is, what do they say? I've got a handout instead of a hand up, or something like that. I'm always looking for that. Did you find that a lot in your years, that people just join to see what they can get out of it?
And yeah, but that's okay. I didn't mind. I don't mind that. I never did mind that. I What I found to be an error is not to want to be involved. So someone said, "Well, what can you do for me? I paid my dues. What can you do for me?" And I would, if they came to me and asked that, often they did. They never asked. I could give them 50 things that they
Mm-hmm.
could do to help themselves, and to help them make more money and be more successful. But if you don't ask me, then it's hard for me to steer you and help you. The other thing that you shouldn't do, back many years ago, Rotaries were very powerful business organizations. And when I was working in Los Angeles, I was a member of the Los Angeles Rotary Club. 800 people met every Friday for lunch. It's a lot of people. They were all very successful, and the organization published a directory. And I would say this is a very valuable tool for any organization to do. So the directory had a picture of the member,
Right.
and then biographical information on the member, the family, who their assistant was at work. And what I would do every Friday, I would identify the person that I wanted to meet that Friday at lunch, and I would go early. It's another thing I would say to
World
people.
belongs to those that show up.
Always go, yeah, always go early. Show up and always
Right.
go early,
Right.
right? And so I would identify that person. I'd have their picture in my mind, and I would wait until they came through the door, and I would walk up and I would say, "Hi, Mark, Steve Cushman. God, it's nice to see you again. You know, how's your company doing? How's your assistant Ann? Look, let's have lunch together today," right? And it always worked. It was always a very powerful tool to meet people who otherwise I would never meet. In Los Angeles, they're not so eager to return your call, not like in Santa Barbara. So what not to do is don't be passive.
Yeah, we wrote about that in today's newsletter, and the world belongs to those who show up. Woody Allen said that, and we've amended that to say who show up with a plan. At least showing up is a big part of it, because you never know when you're going to have that chance encounter. Like me showing up a year and a half ago to a meeting at City College where a bunch of people said, "Hey, what would happen to the region if we were better connected?" Had I not shown up, we wouldn't be sitting here today working on this fantastic project. Do you think we'll finish up our question with, are there some special tricks for this region, you think, that because we're 185 miles from Paso all the way down to Simi Valley. It's actually closer to drive to San Diego than it is to drive from one end of the 805 to the other. So do you think there's anything special, just kind of one thing that people should think about?
Well, the region is a coastal region. It's a very narrow strip geographically and physically. So we are all linked together, but there are many subcultures within this region. I think, though, education kind of links everything together, and from international research at our universities to primary education, uh, almost everyone is concerned, and it's a tool. I don't think we take advantage of the synergy between all of the colleges and public and private schools in the region. So I think that if someone wanted to make an impact on the region, there's an area that could be very
I
impactful.
agree with you 1,000%. I went down to CLU. They had an entrepreneur summit last spring, met 150 people. It was fantastic. I mean, I still know we've got Doug Parker's on the line today. Met him then. He's been a huge advocate for the project. So, your top three tips, real fast. What are the top three things that people can go to this afternoon? They can make three positive efforts towards building their network.
Make sure that what you do electronically is done well. And we
Okay.
haven't even talked about that.
Yep.
Um, put the highest priority on face-to-face relationships.
Yep.
I don't think you can do better for long-term results than being physically with someone and making a connection with them.
And that plays to
And
the advantage of us being in the region. We're an hour from anybody, right?
that's right.
Right.
And don't be reluctant. If there's someone that you want to meet that you think can help you or that you can help, don't be reluctant to just go meet with them.
I love that, Steve. Thank you so much. We're gonna open up for some questions, and we nailed it. We did 20 minutes, so that was Steve. Thank you very much for that. I do want to tell everybody that this project 805 Connect is really, it's all of you on the phone and the 1,200 other members that we have that are helping us to grow this. We're only doing this through the good graces and generosity of you, your advocacy, telling people, and our partners. Each time we do something like this, we're out in public speaking, someone will approach me and say, "Hey, Mark, how could we help you? How could we help be a sponsor or a partner?" And we've come up with lots of different ways for people to help us. Just contact me, mark at 805connect.com, and I'd love to have that conversation. The more you know about what we're doing and how we can support your business, that'll be great. Another thing that I want you to know, you get first news on this, is this 805 Conversations is an experiment for us. And we're going to be doing this every month, but we're going to be launching new programs each month. And that's going to be a big part of adding value out to the membership. So pay attention to the newsletter. I appreciate the fact that everybody's reading it and liking it. We get great comments on that. So got a picture of today's newsletter there. If you've got great stories, cool stuff stories, people are doing interesting things, make sure you let us know. Okay, so we've got a few minutes for questions, and I'm going to come down here and see. I really apologize about that echoing. I'm going to call our good buddies over at Citrix afterwards. Kimberly, what's our first? Give me one good question.
Eddie was asking Steve to provide examples of some of the organizations who's on the board of directors that he served.
Oh, so Steve, that was give just some of the few of the top of the 60. Give us the top 5 that you were on.
So I, in my career, served on 106 nonprofit boards, commissions, or councils. I think 2 of the most interesting were a year-and-a-half long blue ribbon commission to reorganize county government. So that was put together by the Board of Supervisors, and there were 30 of us who met for a year and a half. We worked very hard. We submitted our recommendations to the board, and they threw them away. So that was a very interesting experience. And then, I have to say, I think that the Chamber of Commerce was a very proactive organization that I was involved with for 25 years, and literally thousands of board members in that period of time, all trying to make Santa Barbara a better place for all of us. And I think has and continues to make Santa Barbara a better place for everyone to live and work. But I served on health organizations, arts organizations. The Contemporary Arts Forum I really enjoyed that one. Social service organizations, kids organizations, all good experiences.
Steve, we've got a question here from Stephanie. She says, how can our new holistic Chamber of Commerce, which I've not heard of, Ventura chapter, grow here in the 805? This is a new one. The part of the great thing about this project is there's so many dots that are not connected and want to be connected. What would you suggest for Stephanie?
Stephanie, I don't know what a holistic Chamber of Commerce in Ventura is. I don't know if you're referring to the existing Ventura Chamber of Commerce.
She has it capitalized with a capital H, so it's an interesting model. We'll have to. I would suggest that she does a really good job of profiling herself and then contacts us, because that sounds like maybe a cool stuff story for the newsletter. We could find out more about it.
Okay, so what you think, Mark, is this is a Chamber of Commerce in Ventura whose members' businesses are holistic in nature?
That would not be a stretch. I think that's what it might be. So I'm gonna dig into that one, because that's kind of interesting. There's a lot of those types of businesses in the region. One of the things that's interesting, there's a link, so we'll go follow up on that. One of the things that's interesting about that I've learned in the last year, and you learn in 30 years, is the diversity of industries and businesses, both in scope and focus and in size. It's amazing. And when we look at post 2008, what's happened with entrepreneurs and at-home business, that's just going through the roof. We're going to focus on that in a couple of months. That's clearly one where those people need a lot of help as well. Steve, thank you again. I want to pitch next month. We're going to bring Chris Foley up, and Chris is been the web developer at FoleyPod who's helped us on 805 Connect. He's been tremendous, and in talking with him, he has a ton of ideas around how to make your online business more effective. And we were talking today. He's like, I'm going to give them 3 tips that they can use immediately before they, so either they can talk to their developer better or they can get more. Because if you're not online, even if you're bricks and mortar, you have that online. So thanks again so much. Thanks to everybody here who stuck with us, and hopefully we delivered on that life lesson. And I want to thank all of our partners. If you learned something today, tell somebody. Tell somebody about it, and tell someone else to join. We're trying to grow this network, and we do it through your advocacy. So that next webinar, pencil it in. It's Wednesday in February. And thank you very much. Steve, thanks a lot. And you know what I'm going to do? You said people would ask you what to do, and you said, I had 50 things they can do. So you and I are going to have coffee, and I'm going to hold you to that. I want to learn those 50 things. There's a couple of blog posts in that, buddy. So
all right,
thanks,
Mark.
everybody. Bye-bye now.